What if the real danger after 60 isn't loneliness, but choosing the wrong companionship? There's an old saying that becomes clearer with age. Being alone is often better than being unhappy together. When you're younger, this sounds dramatic. But when you've lived long enough, it starts to feel like hard-earned truth. Many older men reach a quiet crossroads in life. The house feels still, meals are eaten in silence, well-meaning friends suggest dating again. Family members worry and gently push the idea of remarriage. And suddenly, marriage feels like the obvious solution. But what if it isn't? What if remarriage after 60 doesn't bring comfort, but quietly dismantles the peace, stability, and security you spent your entire life building? Men over 60 carry something younger men don't: perspective. You've lived through responsibility, sacrifice, and compromise. You've already been a husband, a provider, a protector. You've managed careers, raised families, and navigated loss. And after all that, you finally arrive at a phase where life slows down. This stage offers something rare: control over your time, your space, and your emotional energy. That's why many older men don't fear being alone as much as they fear losing their peace. Yet, society often treats solitude as a problem to fix. People assume being alone means being unhappy. But experts in senior wellness and psychology repeatedly point out something different. Many men feel calmer, healthier, and more stable once they stop forcing companionship. Remarriage, especially later in life, is often encouraged without discussing its risks. The truth is, love and legal commitment are not the same, especially after 60. Financial advisors, relationship counselors, and even divorce attorneys see the same patterns repeat again and again. And unfortunately, many men don't recognize those patterns until it's too late. At this stage, emotional decisions carry heavier consequences. A single choice can impact your finances, your health, your family relationships, and your independence. What once felt manageable now becomes overwhelming. There's a piece of advice shared quietly among experienced professionals. Even if everything looks perfect, if something feels wrong, pause. Temporary discomfort is far better than years of regret. Because remarriage after 60 is not just about love, it's about what you risk losing. In this series, we'll explore 5 expert-backed reasons why senior men are advised to think very carefully before remarrying. These are not opinions. These are realities witnessed daily by people who work closely with aging men and families. And it all begins with understanding what's truly at stake. When people talk about remarriage after 60, they usually focus on emotions, companionship, loneliness, or love. But professionals who work with seniors see a different side of the story, one that is rarely discussed openly: money. After 60, financial life is no longer flexible. Most men are no longer earning at their peak. Income becomes fixed. Pensions, savings, investments built over decades. These resources are carefully planned to last a lifetime, covering medical care, emergencies, housing, and daily comfort. Remarriage changes that structure immediately. Even when intentions are good, marriage is not just emotional, it is legal and financial. Assets that once belonged to one person become shared. Decisions that were once simple become negotiated, and risks that were once controlled suddenly multiply. Financial advisors consistently warn senior men about one key reality. You can recover from emotional pain, but financial loss after 60 is often permanent. Unlike younger years, there is no time to start over. A new spouse may have different spending habits, different expectations, or different family responsibilities. Adult children, grandchildren, medical needs, or unresolved debts can quietly enter the picture. Even small, regular expenses can slowly drain savings meant to last decades. Another overlooked issue is inheritance. Many senior men remarry believing their children will automatically be protected. In reality, remarriage can legally redirect assets in ways most people don't fully understand. Without careful planning, pensions, property, and savings can shift, creating family conflict that lasts long after a man is gone. This is not theory. Estate lawyers see it every day. Health expenses also become complicated. Medical costs rise sharply after 60, and marriage often blends healthcare responsibilities. A man who carefully budgeted for his own needs may suddenly find himself responsible for someone else's long-term care, emotionally and financially. And here is the quiet pressure many men feel but rarely admit. The expectation to provide doesn't disappear with age. Even in later life, men often feel responsible for maintaining a lifestyle, helping financially, or solving money problems, even when it strains their own security. Being single allows clarity. A man knows exactly where his money goes. He can plan healthcare without compromise. He can protect his savings for emergencies. He can leave his assets where he intends them to go. This is why many senior men, after consulting advisors or experiencing financial stress firsthand, choose caution over commitment. It is not about greed. It is about survival, dignity, and responsibility. Money after 60 is not about wealth. It is about peace of mind. And when peace is threatened, even love feels heavy. But finances are only one piece of the puzzle. There is another reason remarriage becomes difficult later in life, one that affects the heart and mind far more deeply. We'll explore the emotional reality experts see every day, why emotional adjustment becomes harder after 60, and why many remarriages fail quietly, without drama, but with lasting pain. One of the biggest misunderstandings about remarriage after 60 is the belief that emotional adjustment becomes easier with age. In reality, the opposite is often true. As people grow older, their personalities become more settled, their habits more fixed, and their emotional boundaries stronger. After decades of living a certain way, most men know exactly how they like their mornings, their meals, their routines, and their personal space. These patterns are not preferences anymore. They are anchors that provide emotional stability. When remarriage enters the picture, those anchors are quietly disturbed. Even small differences can create daily friction, different sleep schedules, different food habits, different spending attitudes, different communication styles, different expectations of time and attention. At 30, these differences feel negotiable. At 65, they feel exhausting. Counselors who work with seniors often notice a pattern. Conflicts in late-life marriages are rarely loud or dramatic. Instead, they show up as constant low-level tension, silence, withdrawal, frustration, and emotional fatigue. Older men, especially, struggle with this adjustment because they have already spent much of their life adapting to work, family, children, and responsibilities. By the time they reach their senior years, many simply no longer have the emotional energy to reshape themselves again. Another factor is grief and memory. People who remarry later in life often carry deep emotional histories. Former spouses, decades of shared memories, unresolved losses. These emotions don't disappear just because someone wants companionship. They quietly shape expectations and reactions in the new relationship. Comparisons happen sometimes unconsciously. This isn't how my life used to feel. This isn't how things were done before. These thoughts are rarely spoken, but they affect closeness. There is also the issue of emotional independence. Many senior men have learned how to live alone without feeling lonely. They manage their emotions, make decisions independently, and enjoy quiet routines. Remarriage can feel like giving up that emotional freedom, not because the partner is wrong, but because the man has already learned how to be complete on his own. This doesn't mean emotional connection is impossible after 60. It means it requires more patience, more honesty, and more emotional maturity than most people expect. Unfortunately, many remarriages happen quickly, driven by fear of loneliness rather than readiness for adjustment. When the initial comfort fades, reality sets in, and emotional strain begins. What makes this even harder is that seniors often feel embarrassed admitting emotional dissatisfaction. Instead of seeking help, they stay silent, leading to quiet unhappiness rather than open resolution. This is why emotional experts often say late-life relationships fail not because of lack of love, but because of lack of emotional flexibility. But emotional strain is still not the final reason many senior men hesitate. There is another deeply practical concern, one tied to family, children, and legacy. One of the most painful consequences of remarriage after 60 is something many men never expect. Tension with their own children. Even in loving families, remarriage can quietly reshape relationships in ways that are difficult to reverse. Adult children may appear supportive on the surface, but beneath that support often lies uncertainty, fear, or confusion. They worry about inheritance, family homes, emotional distance, or changes in long-standing family traditions. These concerns are rarely voiced directly, but they influence behavior, tone, and trust. For a senior man, this creates a painful emotional conflict. The desire to live his own life versus the responsibility he feels toward his children and grandchildren. Family dynamics after 60 are delicate. Roles have already been established over decades. Children see their father in a certain way as a source of stability, consistency, and emotional grounding. When a new spouse enters the picture, that image can shift suddenly. Simple things become complicated: holiday plans, family gatherings, living arrangements, financial expectations, medical decisions, even daily communication. Adult children may feel excluded or replaced. They may worry their father is being influenced. They may fear losing emotional closeness. And even if none of these fears are true, perception alone can damage trust. Family counselors often point out that remarriage after 60 doesn't just unite two individuals, it merges two entire family systems, each with its own history, emotions, and expectations. Step relationships at this age rarely have time to develop naturally. Instead, they are forced into existence by circumstance, which creates resistance. Another overlooked issue is loyalty. Children may struggle internally with loyalty to their late mother or the family structure they grew up with. Accepting a new spouse doesn't always feel like moving forward. Sometimes it feels like letting go of the past before they are ready. For senior men, this emotional tension is exhausting. Many describe feeling caught in the middle, trying to protect their happiness without hurting their children. Over time, this stress takes a toll on mental and physical health. What makes it even harder is that men often feel they must stay strong and silent. They don't openly discuss family strain. Instead, they carry it quietly until it affects sleep, mood, and emotional well-being. This is why many senior men choose caution, not because they fear love, but because they fear losing family harmony they spent a lifetime building. They ask themselves difficult questions. Is this relationship worth family tension? Can I handle conflict at this stage of life? Will this bring peace or division? These are not selfish questions. They are questions rooted in responsibility. And this brings us to the final and most personal reason senior men hesitate to remarry, one that has nothing to do with others, and everything to do with self-respect and identity. We'll uncover the deepest reason senior men often choose to remain single. The moment they realize they no longer need validation to feel complete. The final reason many senior men choose not to remarry after 60 is the most personal one, and also the hardest to explain to others. It is the moment a man realizes that he no longer needs validation to feel whole. For most of their lives, men are measured by roles: provider, husband, father, protector, problem solver. Their sense of worth often comes from what they give, fix, or sacrifice. love in earlier years is closely tied to responsibility, supporting a family, meeting expectations, holding everything together, even when it costs personal peace. But after 60, something quietly changes. Responsibilities ease. Children build their own lives. Careers end. External expectations fade. And in that space, many men experience something unfamiliar but powerful. They no longer feel incomplete without a partner. They no longer feel pressure to prove loyalty, strength, or commitment. They no longer need a relationship to confirm their value. This doesn't mean they reject companionship. It means they no longer confuse companionship with identity. Older men begin to enjoy life in simpler, deeper ways, walking without hurry, sitting in silence without discomfort, choosing routines that support their health instead of impressing others. They find fulfillment in autonomy, making decisions without explanation, living without emotional negotiation. Psychologists describe this stage as ego completion, a phase where a person feels internally settled. For senior men who reach this point, remarriage can feel like stepping backward into roles they've already completed. There is also dignity in this choice. Many men recognize that forcing a relationship simply to avoid being alone can be unfair to both people. They prefer honesty over obligation, clarity over comfort, and peace over performance. They may enjoy friendship, conversation, shared moments, and human connection, but without contracts, pressure, or expectations that disturb their balance. To the outside world, this choice is often misunderstood. People say, he must be lonely, he gave up, he's afraid of commitment. But the truth is often the opposite. These men are not afraid. They are finished chasing. They've learned that love is meaningful only when it adds calm, not chaos. That companionship is valuable only when it respects boundaries. That happiness is sustainable only when it aligns with health, family harmony, and inner peace. After a lifetime of building for others, many senior men finally allow themselves one simple gift: to live as they are, not as they are expected to be. And for them, that freedom is not loneliness, it is completion. Sometimes the wisest decision in life is not choosing more, but knowing when enough is already enough. True fulfillment doesn't always come from finding someone new. Sometimes it comes from finally being at peace with yourself.